Welcome to Friday Night Baseball presented by Jeep. The New York Mets take on the Atlanta Braves here at Turner Field in Atlanta, Georgia. New York Mets Baseball on SNY is brought to you by Geico. Over 75 years of savings and service. By Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. By Citi, preferred card of the New York Mets. By Hyundai. Hyundai invites you to get in your comfort zone with the most advanced Elantra yet. Visit your Hyundai dealer today. And by Verizon. Don't miss a moment of Mets baseball on the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network, only from Verizon. Well, beautiful, hot Atlanta, Georgia. As you can see, the varsity, if you want to really go to a great greasy spoon, it's about 95 degrees today. If you want to go to Centennial Park and maybe get a little water. And you can see right there in the parking lot, they still have the wall that symbolizes the fence at Fulton County Stadium. Hi, I'm Ron Darling, alongside my partner Keith Hernandez. You know, the Mets really wish they had taken the road less traveled this year. It really has been tough on the road. Their record is 10-21. They've only won 3 of their last 16. I was talking to Terry Collins today asking, is there anything you can do? He said, we're trying to take smaller, less batting practice, telling the guys to come to the park a little later. But Keith, you played on teams that have struggled on the road. Is there anything you can do?
Well, you know, there's one thing that's always a home advantage when you for the home team. When you're the road team, you don't bat last. You got the home crowd behind you. Those are all factors that come into play in a ball club. What's unusual about this club, it's basically the same group. This was a team a couple years ago we were always saying they couldn't win at home at Citi Field. Well, now they've overcome that, and it seems now the coin has flipped and they're struggling on the road. Why? I don't have the answers, but I will say this. They've got a pitching staff that keeps them in the ballgame, and that's why they're on top right now. And they've got the big 3 going in this series. And it reminds me of the times when you'd go into the Los Angeles Dodgers or into the Houston Astros. You wouldn't even bother to look at the starting 4 or 3 in that rotation because you knew you were up against 3 tough pitchers, and the Mets certainly have that.
And you know what's great about tonight on Friday night here? It's the 27th birthday of Jacob deGrom, who's pitching. And of all the pitchers, he has been the toughest for the Mets. He is going through a stretch right now that is almost unprecedented. If you look back almost a year ago, there's only one pitcher, Clayton Kershaw, that has a better ERA than Jacob deGrom. He has been outstanding. And for the Braves, Matt Wisler has been unbelievable in that this is going to be his major league debut. Can you imagine that? He's a guy that pitched in Gwinnett. He was pretty good down there. He's a guy that pitched a lot of complete games. So when we come back next, it'll be the New York Mets against the Atlanta Braves. Cawley of Glendale, New York. Contact PatCawley.com. And by DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the New York Mets. Fans, our first post-game concert of the season is on Saturday, June 27th, when the Mets play the Reds, featuring legendary classic rock artist Steve Miller Band. It's all presented by Pepsi, and it's all included in the price of your ticket. Purchase tickets online at Mets.com/concerts. So it'll be the Mets and the Braves here as Jacob deGrom will try to go for his 8th win. League debut. Imagine how he must be feeling as he grabs that baseball to get ready to face the Mets. And here's the Mets Geico starting lineup. Really the only change is Ruben Tejada is hitting in that second slot, and Kevin Plawecki will be doing the catching today for the Mets. Curtis Granderson stepping in, leading off here for the Mets this evening.
Curtis had a rough run last night, and there's the starting pitcher, RJ.
Yeah, those are the Jeep numbers for Matt Whistler. Those are down in Gwinnett. 12 starts. He was 3-4, 49 Ks, and 65 innings pitched.
0 for 4 last night for Curtis with three punches. A tough night. A knuckleballer. And obviously the knuckleball gave Curtis fits.
You know, Keith, last night we talked a little bit about facing the knuckleball and how sometimes it can put you in a little bit of a slump. Well, that's got to work to Whistler's advantage, at least early here against the Mets hitters.
You know, when I was younger, I bought into that. And you always heard that's part of baseball lore, you know. And I know that George Hendrick was our cleanup hitter in the '82 Cardinals. George told Whitey, I'm not hitting against Necro. Don't even bother to put me in there. And Whitey never played against him because he said it would affect him 3 or 4 games down the road.
Again, down with the strikeout is Curtis Granderson as Matt Whistler starts his major league debut with a strikeout of Curtis Granderson. You know, it's got to be interesting if you're a young pitcher and coming up to face a guy that you have to know Played for the Yankees, had some big years, and you end up with a strikeout on your first AB.
Pretty good curveball.
Well, that's what they say about Whistler as Tejada comes up. Whistler's got a pretty good fastball, doesn't throw it over 95, in the 92 range. Good breaking ball, good changeup. Ruben so far has solidified that third base spot with David Wright gone.
Indefinitely.
Right. Good hitting by Tejada on that first pitch. Line drive to center field for a base hit.
Well, we're seeing a lot more of the Mets attacking first pitch, which was a taboo early last year. And we'll take a quick look, as we always do, which is nothing new. Of course, like Brave defense, Cameron Maben in center field having a great year. Yuri Perez out in left, a recent call-up, getting the start, second start. Kelly Johnson first. Of course, the big bat, Freddie Freeman, sprained his wrist and has missed a couple games. And he's day to day. They're hopeful that he'll be in the lineup tomorrow. Mets are not.
Well, that's the one thing you got to know as Whistler pours in a strike to Lucas Duda. If you're facing a pitcher in his major league debut, you've got to figure the first pitch, at least the first time through the lineup, is going to be a fastball. None of the hitters have seen him. Terry Collins said his hitting coach Kevin Long did not have a lot of tape on him. Only the younger players who maybe faced him in the minor leagues would know.
Well, you know the old saying with Ted Williams, he used to drive his number 1 and 2 hitters crazy with the Red Sox because it was a new pitcher. He'd want to know, what do he throw? In Ted, it just wasn't, did he throw hard? Did he how's his breaking ball? He wanted to know precisely everything, movement, speed. And there's Lucas's problem right there. 87-mile-an-hour sinker out of the strike zone. Watch where this ball starts. Strike, and then it's not a strike. And he hasn't been laying off that pitch. He's getting back to the old ways. He's got to learn to lay off. Instead of being 1 and 2, he'd be 2 and 1.
Tejada with the small lead at first base. Fastball drilled to left field by Duda, but right at Yuri Perez in left field. And he makes the catch for the second out here in the first inning.
Well struck by Lucas. And I think all you folks at home that are big Met fans, we know enough about Turner Field and how hard it is for this ball club to win here. But this is one of the bigger ballparks in baseball. It's pretty fairly huge. 390 in right center field, 380 in left center field, 335 down the lines. It's a big ballpark. You got to get it out of here. Hit it to get it out of here.
Michael Kadire fouls one foul down the left field line past third base. I think hitters say that big ballparks you really have to connect to hit them out, and pitchers call ballparks like this fair. Two different ways to look at it.
So my approach would be in this ballpark. I want to hit line drives, and if I hit a home run here, it's a mistake. I mean, it's 390 in right center field. That's a long way. I remember the Astrodome was 396 in the gas. Remember, Ron?
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Again, fair by my estimation. Pretty good move there by Whistler at first base. Krasinski, the veteran behind the plate, which should help Whistler. Another fastball in, as they have been pounding Michael Kadire in with that running fastball. Wilmer Flores on deck. Curveball up high. Kadire up in the count.
It has been a struggle for Mike. He just hasn't been able to get it going. A lot of starts and stops. It's been pretty much the case in this lineup.
One surprising thing about Kadire are the number of strikeouts that he has. Never thought of him as a strikeout hitter. Again, swinging through the fastball there to even the count. Whistler so far has a little more in the fastball than I thought. Breaking ball hammered down the third base side. Chris Johnson with the play and the throw for the third out here. Tejada with the base hit, but the Mets don't score here in the top of the first. Peterson in New York, Cameron Maybin having a career year. Yuri Perez is playing left field. The biggest omission, Freddie Freeman not playing. That's got to be great for the Mets and Jacob deGrom. You see his record. It's hard to say, but he's pitched better. The cheap numbers, pitched better than that 7-4 record. Low ERA, 90 punch outs, and only 17 walks.
Remember, he started out a little bit of a struggle in April, but he righted that ship after 3 starts. There's a good breaking ball for a strike. And deGrom may be the diamond out of this whole group that may be the big one. I mean, he is just incredibly poised and advanced.
Well, it's interesting you use that word poised. You know, it's his birthday today. He's 27, a year older than Harvey, a few years older than the others. But there's a maturity level that's above his experience on the mound. Sometimes you can't tell whether he's winning by 4 runs or very rarely losing by 4 runs.
And the thing we all look for, which the computer can't tell you, is that he's got guts.
He's got a big heart. And we were impressed with Jace Peterson, who had a 3-run home run off Dylan G in that series back in New York. Starts off with a walk here.
That was close.
It's the T-Mobile ERA leader since June 19th of last season. And I mentioned that Kershaw was before deGrom. It's not true. deGrom has taken over the lead at 2.15, 2.18 for Kershaw. The surprise there is Edison Volquez for Kansas City, who has turned his career around the last 2 seasons.
The most important, and those stats are wonderful, and they go back a year or half a year following the prior season. But to me, the most important statistics are this season, the present.
Fly ball by Maybin to right field. Back is Granderson, but it looks like he'll have room, and he makes the catch. Tagging is Peterson, but Granderson gets it in quick enough to stop Peterson at first base.
Well, they're always going to be looking, when you're a base runner, to take an extra base on Curtis. Hasn't got a strong arm, And remember, we mentioned earlier, this is a big ballpark, and right field is a lot bigger than left field. Left center field is 380, right center field is 390, so Curtis has got a lot of territory to cover out there.
And not easy to play that one in the sun, but he was ready and he got that ball back in quickly as Kelly Johnson, who's hurt the Mets this year, batting in the 3-hole. I'd have to assume on his birthday, Jacob deGrom, who grew up in the middle of Florida, sure has lots of family here to watch him pitch and help him celebrate his birthday. Peterson with a big lead at first.
Good slider.
Brown just has an arm action that you don't see very often, folks. You watch almost all the Mets pitchers and they all have different styles, but he has an extremely long arm action, and that's what where he gets his power. It's like a windmill.
Well, Kelly Johnson had a nice career. I've always liked his swing. He could always run. Came up with the Braves in 05. Went to Arizona, Toronto, Tampa Bay Yankees, Boston, Baltimore last year. 3 teams after he bounced around the American League. And now he's back home with his Atlanta Braves. Had a 26 home run season at Arizona in 11. That was his best year. But not a home run hitter, a line drive hitter.
That slider in on the hands, fisted out to center field. Second out there caught by Lagares.
And we'll take a look at the Metsy defense. That's always brought to you by Lexus. Lagares, we're a little bit concerned about Juan with his arm. He's got issues with his elbow. Herrera at second base has been spectacular defensively. Milwaukee gets to start, gives d'Arnaud a rest. We've talked about they're not going to play d'Arnaud every day. He missed a lot of the season. They're going to ease him back in.
Well, they spent a lot of money on their cleanup hitter, Nick Markakis. First pitch hitting, but lined right to Ruben Tejada for the third out as deGrom gets through that inning. Scoreless here at the end of 1.
When the Mets take on the Reds at 7:10, I'll be there. All fans in attendance will receive a David Wright T-shirt courtesy of WOR 710 AM on your dial. For tickets, visit Mets.com/free shirts Friday.
Wilmer Flores swinging first pitch. as many of the Mets have the first time through this lineup. This fastball driven into right field, but right at Nick Markakis, the Gold Glover. Tom Goodwin rubbing his eye like he's crying to Freddie Freeman, saying, "Oh, what's wrong? You have an owie?"
Well, he's probably rubbing his eye because we all got in around 3:30 in the morning last night.
Mets are very happy that Freddie Freeman is not in this lineup. It was killer.
It was a very smooth transition getting through customs as fast as possible. As a fly ball to right center field. And I always bring this up, folks, because I think it's pertinent. I mean, I want you folks to be aware. I mean, these are young guys playing this game, and they're in shape. But there's a lot of late travel. And last night was one of them where you had to go through customs and take a flight down to all the way to Atlanta. And by the time you get to the hotel, get yourself in the rack, you know, it's 3:30 in the morning. And these guys got to, we just come up here and talk. They got to play.
Best part of that night was the men who were in charge of the bags balanced them well enough that they were about 10 feet high, full of Mets suitcases.
Yep.
That they're able to get through customs.
Well, our traveling secretary Brian Small did a terrific job because we were all concerned that we were going to have to take our bags off individually and go through customs, and that wasn't the case. It was all taken care of and smooth sailing. Otherwise, we'd have been here gotten in Atlanta around 4 in the morning.
How are you going to do that with the bad wing? 2 suitcases.
Well, I had to when I landed. I mean, someone had to help me with my bags. Anyway, back to the game.
3-1 count here on Dilson Herrera. Good swing by Herrera, but right at Chris Johnson on the ground. Strong throw to first base. And the young Matt Whistler has gotten through 2 innings here against the Mets. No score. Use those little hand carts and balance all of that luggage. There were about a half dozen of these that they pushed through customs. It was the most amazing job I've ever seen. Hats off to those guys.
There's around 50 players on the plane. Not players, media, coaches, medical staff. I think it comes to around 50.
DeGrom ahead in the count against Chris Johnson. His fellow Stetson, Hatter, both went to the same college. DeGrom doesn't mess around. He gets that ball signed, and it is on its way.
Shadows on the field, but not affecting the hitter in any way or any advantage to the pitcher. It's light enough. The lights are on, although they're not really grabbing the field right now at this time of what'd you call this, late afternoon, noon, or evening?
It's not quite the gloaming, right? I remember I learned something from Gary Cohen when we were here, explaining that Turner Field does not have any lights in the outfield, so sometimes the balls at this time at night get lost by the outfielders.
Good slider.
Not a good pitch by DeGrom as Chris Johnson is struck out.
Perfect spot, and that's a pitch, Ronnie, you said earlier last year that he needed to improve on, and it seems like his slider's a lot better this year.
It used to roll up there a little bit. Now it's got that tilt, and it's about 6 or 8 inches, and it's 90 miles an hour. There's a veteran, A.J. Pierzynski, who has just dominated Mets pitching so far this year.
Well, he's done a heck of a job for this ball club, getting the lion's share of playing, particularly against the right-handers, obviously. Good change.
This is his 1,805th game catching. It's wearing the pads a lot. Wow. Ground ball to the right side. Herrera gets over there and makes the play look easy.
Nice hands, Dilson.
Andrelton Simmons coming to the plate. A couple of games ago, he was trying to bunt for a base hit. He was hit on the hand, which was exposed, and it was his right hand. Missed a couple of days. They say now he's 100%, but still, it was that right hand that was hit. Talk about another Met killer. He's had a great season start against the Mets. 4 hits a week ago in a game against the Mets. Terry Collins was asked about him today. First question: how would you compare Andrelton Simmons to Wilmer Flores, and should Wilmer watch Andrelton Simmons?
Who asked that question?
I can't say.
Art Fern.
And Terry said, as this ground ball up the middle past Flores for another base hit for Simmons against the Mets this 2015 season. And Terry's response was, I'm not going to really answer that question. We're not going to compare that. He said, though, anytime you're a ball player and there's a great player in the field, whether he's defensively or offensively, you always watch to try to pick up a few things.
Exactly. You would want to watch how the fielder, you're watching him in the field, how he sets up prior to a pitch, where his hands are as the pitch is thrown. Does he move in a couple steps? Does he stay stationary? Does he hop forward? There's all kinds of things that you can watch.
I've always thought positioning, when you watch a good infielder, Wilmer, who's learning the position, relearning the position, plays about 4 steps in off the grass. The real good outfielders, because they have that great arm, they play all the way out on the grass and dirt.
And then the most important thing to do outside of observing is to use your mouth and your vocal cords. Go have a conversation with that player. And E.F. Hutton, shut up and listen. You'll learn something.
Ball fisted to right field. Granderson's coming hard. Looks like he has a beat on it, and he makes the play down the right field line. Nice play by Granderson as the DeGrom gets through 2. Scoreless here at Turner Field. Which player has the third longest consecutive games played streak behind Cal Ripken and Lou Gehrig?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Very good. I think I have the answer. I think he's our era. More your era than my era.
I think I have my guess.
Okay. Well, it'll be interesting to watch Plawecki and his at-bats with this limited play, almost playing once every third or fourth day. If he's able to get his hits, this one pulled foul off his fists. I think a broken bat's going to need another one.
He hasn't hit for the average, but he's hung in there. He's getting a lot of playing time. Terry has done a really, really good job. Terry Collins, the manager of the Mets, of course, has done a good job of sprinkling in the bench players and getting them involved. It's one of the most difficult things for a manager to be able to do. You can kind of forget about your bench players and stick with your horses.
This line to center field. Will this drop in front of Maben? Yes, it will, for the base hit. Cameron Maben, who plays a pretty deep center field, we've seen a lot of hits drop in front of him, even with that great speed. Good hit there for Plawecki. Well, he's got a smile on his face, but Jacob deGrom will be up there to bunt in this situation.
Well, in tight at third base is Chris Johnson, and then of course Kelly Johnson at first has to hold the runner on. We had that nice play run where you allowed me to get a good break on the bunt.
This one down the line, but it'll go foul. One of the keys for a pitcher in this situation is you want to throw a strike on that first pitch, because your infielders are charging. They want that ball on the ground. They don't want to have to run in 3 or 4 times. And for deGrom, one of the keys, when you come to the plate and you're going to bunt, you want to see who's on first. Can he run or can he not run? If he can't run, that means your bunt's going to have to be more precise. If you've got a guy who has good speed, then you really just have to get it down. Well, good bunt there, as Kelly Johnson's going to have to go to first base. That's been an Achilles heel for the Mets pitching, but good bunt there. During tonight's game, you can get interactive with SNY Game Day on SNY.TV, featuring pitch-by-pitch coverage, player cards, and in-depth stats. Check out SNY Game Day on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Job well done by deGrom. Gives Curtis a chance to drive the ball in. Drive the runner in. Milwaukee's got a pretty big lead. The Atlanta Braves have 11 pickoffs. They have a few at second base, mainly because Simmons loves to run the play. So you've got to watch yourself at second. Brzezinski's going to go out, and they're going to talk over the signs.
I think that's a veteran going out with a young man. A lot of times pitchers can get lost in their focus, particularly a young man who's got his first start in the big leagues.
This third inning is presented by your local tri-state Audi dealers and the uncompromised Audi A3 sedan. Sorry to cut you off, Keith, there with that Audi, but
No, it's okay, Brian. It's first things first. And then Greg screaming at us.
Well, this is always the big test, how a young guy making his debut, how he looks going through the second time through a big league lineup. Fastball changeup, both for balls here against Curtis Granderson. As Juan Lagares, Ruben Tejada on deck. Ball hit straight in the air to center field. Maben moves a little back a few steps, get in position to throw, and Plawecki's going to have to stay at second base as Granderson makes the second out here in the top of the third. What would you tell Granderson if you had a conversation with him about his struggles? Is there any conversation you could have? And I'm putting you on the spot here.
I know.
Sorry about that.
The beauty of being a good coach is being able to work with what you have and the style of that player. You can't just say, okay, Curtis, you got to change your stance. And when you got to the big leagues with this, Curtis has got a very unorthodox stance. He's almost corkscrewed up at the plate. If one thing I would try to tell, I would tell him, and I'll go ahead briefly. This should end the inning here. Is that I think he tilts his head when he swings. I would try to get him to keep his eyes horizontal to the ground, and that's a minor adjustment.
No score, middle of the third. Innings as he'll face the 9th place hitter, the debut of Matt Whistler in Bryan, Ohio. He's been good through 3 innings also.
Well, John Hart took over this ball club as general manager. He has dismantled this club, the Braves, and has gone to a youth movement. And remember, they're 2017. They're going to have a new stadium prepared. So I believe they're planning for the future. And let's face it, since Chipper Jones left, they haven't been able to fill that void.
And Whistler's part of that youth movement. He was involved in that trade that sent Craig Kimbrell and Melvin Upton over to the San Diego Padres and brought back Cameron Maben and Whistler. The grounds a ball to the right side as Duda scoops it up for the first out. And filling in for Steve Gelbs on this trip here in Atlanta is Eamon McEnany. Eamon, what do you got?
Well, Ronnie, thanks. It's kind of interesting. 2 years ago yesterday, Zach Wheeler made his major league debut in this very stadium. Well, today he's back in this stadium with the Mets with obviously a little less fanfare. The Georgia native down in Florida rehabbing after Tommy John surgery earlier in the spring. And he met with reporters and he said he cannot wait to pick up a ball, which is expected to happen next month. Right now, his days pretty much consist only of running and lifting. And in his words, that's getting pretty old. Right now, he's looking to get out there, and he said being away from the game for as long as he has so far this summer he's helped gain an appreciation for the fact that he does have a major league career and the fact that he was as healthy for as long as he was before he had Tommy John surgery. But he's definitely talking about the fact that it's tedious and monotonous, and he can't wait for the next step of this rehab process to be able to test that arm and throw again. But interesting, he told me that he's not getting his hopes up because he knows it's such a long process, but he's very happy to spend some time back with his teammates this weekend here in his home state.
Well, thank you, Eamon, and welcome to the broadcast. Nice to have you.
Get you out of that bat cave, Eamon, get you out of that studio and out into the hot Atlanta night.
You know what's interesting, Keith, is that I think we tend to forget. We always think that these young men have Tommy John surgery, and at some point they just come back. You forget about how monotonous and tedious and how much fun it must be for Zach Wheeler to put on a uniform and see his teammates, even if it's for a weekend.
You get chomping at the bit.
There was a time when we played, if you were injured, you would catch a lot of razzing from other players. It was mean-spirited. It was cold. It was not fun from certain individuals. Not all, of course. But nowadays, those things guys get hurt so often.
I don't think it was mean-spirited.
Yeah.
I think it was just part of the razzing that went on. You know, you get on someone for being hurt because you know you can get under his skin because guys wanted to play. And, you know, what are you doing? You're milking that thing? How long?
Yeah.
Let's go. How long is it going to take to get ready?
You can't help the club from the tub was a big one.
That's right. You can't make the club by sitting in the tub.
Ball hit out to left field, dropped in by Jace Peterson. Kadire picks it up with his bare hand and throws it back into Herrera. Peterson with a base hit. Well, these are Zach Wheeler's numbers. He's on the shelf now, but these are his career totals. 2013, 2014. And what's interesting about the Tommy John surgery that they found that he needed in spring training, he finished so strong in 2014. And I think he was their best pitcher, or one of their best pitchers by the end of the year.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You know, Ron and Keith, you guys were discussing, you know, the razzing. It was the exact opposite in the clubhouse today. Jacob deGrom and Zach Wheeler having, you know, fun time joking. And I asked Zach if watching deGrom and Harvey perform this year is motivating since they went through the same process he's going through. And he said that's not how he's approaching it. He said everyone rehabs differently. But what he did say is that as the runner goes and Plawecki guns him down, Peterson out at second. But, Ronnie, I want to ask you about this. What he did say is that he is living this year through deGrom and Harvey and all the other pitchers, watching them perform. And that's what he's driving him to get back, knowing he wants to be part of that staff and that camaraderie next summer.
Well, you know what's interesting as we see the call here at second base. I thought he was safe from the naked eye because I don't think the tag got there. But you can see Peterson's coming off the field. Freddie Gonzalez waiting for the call. I think it's too late for the call anyway now. But quick tag by Herrera.
You know, Freddie already whistled.
But it might have been a little too high.
He called home plate umpire's attention, Jerry Lane, and I guess they're not going to contest it.
And they called off the jam. To answer your question, Eamon, just think about this. By next All-Star break, you're really looking at deGrom, Syndergaard, Harvey, Matz, and Wheeler. In whatever order you want to put them in, that could be the rotation. Good luck.
It's going to be a rotation with a lot of flamethrowers.
We didn't even get in. What a heck of a throw. There's Danny Worthington. Heck of a throw by Plawecki. Ground ball here to Wilmer Flores. The accurate throw to first base, and they just get Maben to end the third inning. Still scoreless here at Turner Field in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, Matt Whistler out here for the 4th inning, hasn't given up a run so far. He's been outstanding. What a debut so far, but he's got to face for the 2nd time Lucas Duda, who flew out in his first at bat. A shift for Lucas. Chris Johnson all the way over to shortstop position. Simmons up the middle. Peterson around from second base, and Kelly Johnson closer to first, or closer to the line.
Another thing I've been watching in Lucas's swing is he does what my father used to call dipping. And that's when you break down right in the middle of your swing, you kind of squat and bend your knees, and your body comes down with your knees, and therefore get under the ball.
So instead of your belt staying parallel to the ground, it drops a couple inches to the ground.
If you kind of, it's hard to explain, but I've seen a lot of it, and it would be something that's why he's been getting under the ball a little bit. It's funny how you're instructed by your parents with certain terminology, and it clicks with you, but it's like talking a foreign language to other people. Just carefully watch Lewis's swing when he goes after a pitch that's out of the strike zone. Watch his legs. It bends. He just kind of dips.
This grounded to Kelly Johnson at first base. Not a lot of experience, but makes the play to Whistler.
And he didn't do it on that last swing. It's when he swings after off-speed pitches. This is fine right here. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Well, I always think that if you are a hitter and you dip at all, that means your head's got to dip too. And anytime your head is moving when the ball is coming, can't be good.
I think he's got the leg kick when he strides, and when he gets the off-speed pitch, he's kind of hanging, and I think it's caused. The dipping's caused because when he's got his leg up in the air and he's kind of hanging, and then he's starting to stride, and then it's an off-speed pitch. I think he maybe overstrides.
I get it.
Instead of bringing that foot down. And it's just a thought. I'll keep my eye on it. Trust me, I'll be a little more rigorous.
Watching Matt Whistler pitch reminds you a little bit of Pittsburgh's Charlie Morton, who started here in the Braves organization. A guy who's got a good sinker, four-seamer, curveball. He's really mixed it up really well. You can see Pierzynski motioning to him with his glove. When a catcher does that to a pitcher, it's almost like that a way to hit the glove, because the catcher is trying to get you to move it in and out. And when you hit his glove, he loves that. Curveball, though, hammered down the left field line. One hopped to Perez at second base. Big turn by Kadire, but good job by Perez getting the ball in.
We'll take a side view of Kadire here, and just see watch his head, the elevation of his head, and it should stay right on. He had to get down for a low ball there, but if it's a high pitch, the elevation of the head should never change. And Kadire isn't one of the culprits here. Kadire does not dip.
It was a breaking pitch away, so he had to kind of go after it. One thing about the Mets offense of late, you remember they went 21 straight innings without a run until Lucas Duda hit a late home run in Toronto, is that it's really been a base-to-base kind of offense. If they don't put 4 or 5 hits together, it's hard for them to get a rally. Not a lot of speed in the lineup. This one hit straight up in the air towards right field. Markakis coming in. He gets there in time for the second out here in the fourth.
Well, the young man's holding up pretty well for his first start.
You know what he's doing? He's throwing strikes, and he's being aggressive, and that's something that, we saw Kill Morris come in the other night, and here's a kid from Single A, and couldn't throw really any pitches for strikes because he was just trying to overthrow. That happens. Certainly happened to any kid coming from Single A, but this is a polished Triple A pitcher was brought up for his one chance to show his wares. They sent down Mike Fultonevich, who saw we pitch against the Mets, gave up tons of runs with a big lead, and he had given up, I think, 15 runs in his last 14 and third innings, and they had had enough of that.
Well,
so they sent him down.
He was a big guy in that trade with Houston because he's a flamethrower, and it just goes to show you can't throw 100-mile-an-hour fastballs down the pipe to big league hitters. They'll hit it. You can't get a breaking ball over.
11 first pitch strikes by Mr. Whistler to the 16 hitters he's faced. That's pretty impressive. Ground ball to Simmons. Never want to go there as he gets the force out at second base to end the top of the fourth. We're in the middle of the fourth with no score. Light. These are cold hard facts this season. Well, really, it has been almost 3 seasons, hasn't it? He started out, he came out of the blocks great. He went through that little stage. Remember when he was in Chicago against the Cubs, where he really struggled and they changed his motion or tweaked it a little bit, and the end result has been these last few starts, which have been just about as good as you'd want them to be.
Well, we worried about him, DeGrom, in spring training, getting the ball up.
Yeah.
And he was up early, but he has rectified that problem. He is telling you what. How many more starts for him before the All-Star break?
Well, I would say
3, 4,
maybe 3, maybe 3.
He's got a shot at going to the All-Star game.
He and Familia, I would say right now.
I would say Familia's a lock.
Yeah.
And DeGrom's 3 starts remaining. Goes in there with 10 W's with that kind of ERA.
Kelly Johnson lifts one out to left center field. Looks like Lagares will have room, and he does, for the first out here in the bottom of the fourth. Well, Markakis is an interesting study, huh, Keith? They signed him to a 4-year contract. They knew he had neck issues. He had to have neck surgery. He has come back, and he's a good hitter, but can you have a 4th place hitter? Hasn't hit any home runs this year. He's driven in runs, but not tons of runs.
He's driven in 21. He's hitting in the 4 spot.
He's had 23 multi-hit games, so he's had a lot of good games.
I'd be more inclined to have him hit 3rd and put the big Mr. Freeman in the cleanup spot. I think the issue is, and there you go right there, Ron, your DraftKings home runs by season.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's not only that. He was a guy that always, not always, but many times had over 50 doubles also. And those went down as well as he grounds this ball to Herrera.
Well, not a prolific home run hitter who played in a, Orioles are a bandbox.
Yeah, it really is, especially in the middle of summer. Chris Johnson coming to play against DeGrom, and that his numbers were presented by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Enter promo code NYM for free entry.
So my feeling is if you hit Markakis 3rd, he's more of a 3rd hitter, and you hit Freeman 4th.
Yeah.
Who's protecting Freeman? Freeman's never going to get pitched to.
That's the issue.
So they got a good solid hitter behind Freeman, and you want Freeman, who's one of the most productive hitters in the game, to be able to get pitches to hit.
So that's probably why he's batting 4th. Remember that Markakis usually led off for the Baltimore Orioles and Buck Showalter much of last season when they won 96 games.
Well, there you go. Some comparative numbers. Look at the risk there, which is runners in scoring position.
Boy, a ball called fair. Granderson just missed it, but he throws out Johnson second. No, he's called safe. And that wasn't one of those that you lost in the sky. It's almost like Curtis took his eye off the baseball. It clanked off the glove for an error. And by the time he retrieved it, Chris Johnson running hard. I'll give him credit for that. That's pretty hard for just to pop up the right field, but then turned it on once he saw Granderson miss it.
Ooh, close at second. Well, you never see Curtis drop a ball. It's a flat drop. He's usually very good coming down the line, making plays on the right field line.
I'd like to see Plawecki out there right now. I thought he might have been out at second base, but he did get that left hand in. I like seeing Plawecki out there with DeGrom. Why? Well, if you've been watching the Mets this year, any time someone makes a mistake in the field, it usually gets compounded by run scoring. So this is one of those times, and DeGrom is one of those pitchers that you got to pick up your outfielder.
Got in. Just got in.
Brzezinski had a pretty good pitch to hit right there, but just got by him by DeGrom.
Just came after him.
That's what you like about him, don't you, Keith?
Yep.
When things are tough, he just comes right after you. I remember when Johan Santana was throwing his best for the Mets. If he ever got in a crisis situation, which wasn't very often, he would go right to that fastball.
Well, most of the great pitchers know, but they know that they go inside when they're in trouble. Cologne certainly does it.
That ball by Plawecki on the bounce. I've said this before, when a fastball is called, and that wasn't, that looked more like a changeup, and that's kind of a sloppy, lazy play by Kevin Nair. You've got to get down and block that ball. And I think that happens sometimes when you don't play for 4 or 5 days. You can sometimes get a little lethargic back there. I think that's what happened on that one. Beautiful pitch on the corner by DeGrom to even the count.
Nice pitch to have with the runner on third, 2 outs. Just paint.
We can really see these Atlanta Braves hitters who've been watching them for years when they were a home run hitting team, strikeout after strikeout. But Kevin Seitzer, their new hitting coach, has them with 2 strikes, cutting down on their swing, trying to put the ball in play, fouling off tough pitches, driving up pitch counts. But a good pitch by the ground there. Upstairs to strike out Brzezinski in the inning. Leave the runner stranded at third base. No score still here at Turner Field. The beautiful cloud cover also. That one cloud on the bottom almost looks like Tennessee.
Looks like North Carolina.
North Carolina better. Okay.
Remember when you were kids laying in the backyard?
That's right.
You'd make out all the shapes of the clouds. Didn't have a care in the world. Mom had lunch for you. Dad was working. Mom said, "Go play. Be back for dinner." Those were the days.
Go play in the traffic. Fastball hit foul there by Dilson Herrera. Here's our Verizon trivia answer. Our question was, which player had the 3rd longest consecutive game streak behind Ripken and Gehrig? I thought it was Garvey. Everett Scott.
So we're going way back.
1916 to 1925.
That's right. Garvey had that big run.
Right? That's who I thought it was.
Yep. Good call, Ron. Good memory.
Well, couldn't go all the way back to 25. Sorry, folks. Ball one hopped to Andrelton Simmons, who makes it look easy for the first out here in the 5th. Well,
you know, we were talking earlier about Markakis hitting 3rd and why he's hitting 4th, and Freddie Freeman hitting 3rd. I've always wondered about that Yankee lineup. Why Ruth hit 3rd and Gehrig hit 4th? I mean, they were both great players.
Yeah.
But you think Ruth, the all-time home run hitter for so long, would have been the cleanup hitter in that lineup.
But except, just think about a game that you're trying to market, and don't you want Ruth hitting in the 1st inning? People coming to the game, they want to see Babe, the mighty Babe, take a swing in the 1st inning. Maybe they didn't know marketing then. I don't know.
Oh, that's a good point. I mean, MLB Network has some fabulous footage of Lou Gehrig taking batting practice.
Oh, that pitch hit Plawecki, and it might have hit him in the hand. We already had one Mets catcher, Travis d'Arnaud, miss significant time with getting hit by a pitch. He's going to tell Ray Ramirez right now where he got it. seemed like he pointed to his forearm, but we're not sure. We'll see here.
Oh, it got the meat on his right forearm.
Underneath the forearm,
So
right?
there's meat there. It should be all right. It didn't hit the ulna or the radius.
I know you're not a doctor, but I guess you play one on TV.
It certainly didn't hit the humerus.
Well, Plawecki takes his time walking down to first base.
It's a lot of meat there. There's a lot of meat.
You know, when I noticed that, you know, they have that advertisement on television where they have that ball on a bat and they teach you how to swing it, and at the right time that ball will come to the end of the bat. And every time I watch a young kid do it, his hands are right in the strike zone, and all I can think of is that all of these kids at some point are going to be hitting the hands, as you see the defense here for the Braves.
And at the corners at third base, another bunt situation, obvious bunt situation for DeGrom.
Interesting, the throw by Whistler at the first. That's a good play, because what you want to do is you hope that the pitcher will give away that he's bunting. The reason being, Jacob DeGrom is a good hitter. In fact, the kind of game you got going here, you might let DeGrom swing the bat.
You could give him one swing, but I think they're going to bunt.
Again, another throw over, and DeGrom did not give it away.
Now, we had the play, Ronnie, that I would give you a sequence of 3. Go home, throw over, go home.
Yeah.
I would want you to throw over more on a slow runner, because get him more anchored to the bag, because then you have a better chance of getting him out at second.
Another good bunt there by Jacob DeGrom. That was a clinic 2 times for both sacrifices.
So you know what I'm saying,
yeah,
right?
no, absolutely.
I mean, if you got a speed burner like D. Gordon on first base, the odds are he's a right-hand thrower going to have a hard time making that play too.
Well, to put that in perspective, when you played, that was a simple out at second base, not even close to the run against.
It would have been. I'm left-handed.
Yeah.
I don't have any wasted motion to throw to second base. A left-handed first baseman. But you know, if you got a D. Gordon at first base, what are the odds of being able to get him, the lead runner?
That's right.
They're against you.
Well, so far, Whistler's been pretty good. The Mets are 0 for 2 at runners in scoring position. Ball on the ground. Kelly Johnson plays it off his hip, shovels it over to Whistler, and Whistler's gone 5 scoreless innings here against the Mets. but really built to resemble the U.S. Capitol building. It's one of the great landmarks and scenes here in Atlanta, Georgia. And again, beautiful sunset here in Atlanta. Ball up the middle. What a pick by Flores. And he gets his counterpart at first base.
Well, that's a big league play right there from Wilmer. This is no easy hop. Very nice. Doesn't get better than that. Nice play.
Simmons can't feel bad about it. He's been doing it for 3 years to other people. Yuri Perez, who was called up recently, replaced Daniel Castro, who was an extra infielder for these Braves. But once Freeman hurt that wrist and had to go to the bench, Kelly Johnson had to move in from the outfield, and they needed an extra outfielder, and that was Perez. He's got lots of speed, had lots of stolen bases down in Gwinnett. Let the ground just, I hate to say that he's sharper than he's been. He's just sharp every day, it seems.
Every day, and it's effortless too. It's just a purpose. He's not overthrowing. It's really fun to watch.
Love that glove in front of the face, the unbelievable concentration. We remember that from the postseason. If you watch, remember Andy Pettitte would always put that glove up in front of his face, but DeGrom's got his own version. 8 strikeouts in each of the last 5 games. Ground ball foul. And a big strikeout night here so far for DeGrom. He's only got a couple.
And this used to be a Brave lineup that you could get a lot of strikeouts on, but not so this year. A whole different hitting philosophy on this Bravo squad.
Ground ball to first base, bobbled by Duda, but still time to get Perez. Well, Freddie Gonzalez's squad, you see their strikeouts per year. Second fewest in 2015, the most in 2013 when they went to the postseason.
There you go.
But I think it really shows, like you talked about before, Keith, is just how John Hart came in here and completely changed this ball club.
Yep. A lot of moves, a lot of trades. Trade for young players that aren't here yet. They're in the minor leagues. Evan Gattis gone. The whole list.
Ground ball to the right side. Herrera backs up. Pitcher's running. Easy out at first base. Well, through 5 innings, both pitchers pitching wonderfully. Scoreless here after 5. pitches through 5 innings. There's the Braves president, John Schuerholz.
He was the architect of all those glory years of the Braves under Bobby Cox.
And how about Kansas City? Did pretty good over there also.
Yes, he did.
He reminds me of the modern day version of Frank Cashen. Took a couple organizations all the way. Ruben Tejada up here in the top of the 6th. I mentioned the pitch count of Whistler because this is the ball club, the Braves, that have had a hard time getting some starting pitching to go deep into ball games. We explained last weekend when they played at Citi Field how their bullpen has struggled because they've had to go to it early and often. Whistler's trying to go deep in this game.
Well, they got a couple guys at the end there that are decent. Massett.
Yeah, Johnson and Grilly. Massett's in the 7th. Johnson in the 8th and Grilly in the 9th if everything works perfect for the Braves.
So if you get in that middle, it's you find the gasoline depot there.
Cashen and Schuerholz. I mentioned Schuerholz, modern day Frank Cashen. They both started at Baltimore. Frank was a real renaissance man, though. A writer. He had done just about every single job you could have in baseball.
Ran the racetrack in
That's
Baltimore.
Right. First breaking ball we've seen from Whistler that missed on the inside corner, or missed inside. A lot of composure for this young kid, but you know, when you throw 5 scoreless, you're going to have more composure than when you have men on base. There's a fastball laced by Tejada to deep left field. It's over the head of Perez, who plays it one hop off the left field wall. Struggles to throw that ball into the second base, and Tejada leads off the 6th with a double.
Well, Tejada has hit some balls off the wall here in this road trip, and that's going to be his best bolt right there. That ball's crushed.
That's one of those where you say a little man hit it, because he hit that about as good as he can hit it. And this diamond that I said was fair, you said was very deep, kept that ball from being a home run. Well, you don't want Lucas Duda certainly to ground out to the second baseman to get Ruben over, but you need to get Ruben over in this scoreless game. You'd rather get him in. Ball laced by Duda to right field. That'll get him over. Markakis makes the play, but by the time he throws it in, Tejada from second to third base. Let's go to Doug Williams in the studio for a game break, brought to you by Honda. So you're telling me that Jeter and A-Rod's 3,000th hit was a home run? Whoa. Well, it's a hard call. I mean, you and I could sit up here and talk 2 hours about it, but you got to say congratulations. 3,000 hits is amazing. Infield's in here with Kadire up. Ground ball over the head of Chris Johnson. That's going to score the Mets run. Base hit for Michael Kadire. Had infield in just enough for Kadire to jump all over that first pitch and bounce it over the head of Johnson.
Well, leadoff double due to a productive out, advancing the runner, and there's a big chop right there. Big break for the Mets. And you take the lead. So there's only 3 players that have 600 home runs and 3,000 hits, and that
I know the other 2,
Hank and Willie.
I almost forgot Wade Boggs' 3,000th hit was also a home run. That's pretty amazing. That's childlike stuff where you, boy, if I ever get a 3,000th hit, I want it to be a home run. Ground ball to Chris Johnson, who makes a fine play. Can they turn it? Yes, they do. Wow. What a defensive play by the team now with 76 double plays, the Atlanta Braves. But the Mets get a run and take the lead here in the middle of the 6th. For the team both on and off the field this season. Plus, get an inside look at Muhammad Wilkerson's unique off-season workout on New York Jets Nation Sunday at 8:30, only on SNY.
Another nice play by Wilmer right there, run on a hot smash. He's got good fundamentals. It's just all about the balls that he can get to. He has lapses of concentration sometimes, like the line drive he dropped last night. But his fundies, as far as fielding ground balls, is solid. That was a hot smash, made it look easy.
That's interesting you said that, because, you know, I was thinking about that the other day, because I thought his defense the last month, June, let's say the month of June, has gotten much better. But then he had that double play ball that didn't make the other day. And that can't be a lapse of judgment, because you got to be on point at that point in the game in the 9th inning. But you can also just miss it, and that happens.
Well, Wilmer needs to, and I don't know. He doesn't have the physique. He's long and lanky. I mean, if he's going to be playing that position, the shortstop, even if he's going to be playing second base, which is really his natural position, he has to work on his foot speed, his quickness, his darts and dashes. That's where he gets hurt. But as far as fielding, you would want to teach your kids. If you brought them to the ballpark, you'd say, hey, see how he fielded that ball? That's how you do it.
There's a ground ball to the right side, but DeGrom, who has great speed and, of course, a superior fielder, makes that play look easy. One unassisted. I love putting that on the board. 2 straight strikes there from DeGrom. It's one of the few curveballs that you've seen from DeGrom there to Kelly Johnson. And that fans know. NL Rookie of the Year. Won it with that start in Miami when he struck out the first 8 Marlins. Well, how do you judge a pitcher? How he pitches after he's got a run, a shutdown inning. Now it's a shutdown inning for DeGrom as the Mets are leading 1-0. Well, back here in the top of the 7th again, Matt Whistler in his major league debut, and pulls a curveball in there for a strike. I have to be very impressed with Mr. Whistler. Only 67 pitches now here in the 7th inning. Ball lifted to right field off the bat of Lagares. Markakis, of course, as sure-handed as anyone with the catch. Friday Night Baseball on SNY is brought to you by Jeep. Visit Jeep.com today. Markakis in last night's ball game set a record.
Yes, he did.
Errorless record, 393 games. Remember Darren Lewis, the center fielder for the San Francisco Giants and others, but mostly San Francisco. He had the record.
That was between 1990 and 94 that Darren Lewis had the record, and broken was last night. So Markakis is building on that.
Just never know how these young pitchers are going to pitch once they come up and that extra deck in the stadium, pitching against some of their childhood heroes. Mr. Whistler's handling it well tonight. Milwaukee was hit by a pitch in his last at bat on deck.
No, he's not throwing hard. Got a decent breaking ball. Just been locating.
That one popped up off the bat of Herrera. It looks like Perez in left field is going to make the play for 2 outs here in the 7th.
No. Here we go. I'm ready. I'm in pink.
Pink silks?
Yes. Very nice.
I don't think of you as a pink silk guy.
I'm full of surprises.
Well, it's really been the curveball for Whistler. He's been able to throw it for a strike just about any time he wants to. You know, he reminds me a little bit of, and it's funny that we say a guy who's throwing 93 miles an hour is not throwing hard. That's how the game's become. But he reminds me a little bit, and not of size, but he reminds me a little bit of Medlin when he pitched here for the Braves. Not the way he looks, not at all, but as far as being able to throw all of his pitches for strikes and mix them inside and outside. Oh, good hitting by Plawecki as he dumps a base hit in front of Perez. 0-2 pitch, breaking ball hit by Plawecki. There's Dana Evelyn, the former Met, up in the bullpen for the Braves.
6th base hit for the Mets, and of course the young man up at the plate right now gets to swing the bat finally. He's only given up 2 hits. Little 2-hit shut piece.
I mentioned Chris Medlin before. He's no longer with the Braves. He signed a contract with Kansas City. He's rehabbing in the minor leagues, Tommy John surgery. It's always interesting when you have to face a pitcher who can hit, because it changes your whole mindset. Because not only do you want to get him out, like you want to get every hitter out, but you don't want to be embarrassed by giving up a hit to a pitcher. Ground ball here to second base, played by Peterson, just gets the fast DeGrom at first base. So the Mets don't score in the top of the 7th, but still lead 1-0. Orlando Resort, where you'll experience the action and fun of 2 amazing theme parks, plus stay on site at Universal's Cabana Bay Beach Resort. Just go to sny.tv/Toyota and enter the Toyota Fan Flyaway Sweepstakes for your chance to win. Well, look at tonight's starters. People's United Bank numbers, and both have been outstanding. Weisler's on the short end. But think about this. Jacob deGrom, the last 11 hitters he's faced, he's retired 10 of them. The only one he didn't retire was Chris Johnson, who got to second base and in scoring position because of the error by Granderson. It's interesting. Markakis up. He's a fourth place hitter, but they need a base runner, and Tejada is not taking the bunt away. He's deep at third base.
Markakis is the guy that is hitting .299 on the year. Has 39 walks too, so good eye at the plate.
He's one of those guys that's patient when no one's on base, tries to work the count. And if he gets a couple of ducks on the pond, a couple of guys in scoring position, he'll get more aggressive. Here's the fly ball to left field, but right at Kadire, right in his tracks. And the first out for DeGrom here in the bottom of the seventh. I mean, you hate to jinx anything, but boy, it's fun watching DeGrom pitch sometimes when he's got it rolling, because he makes it look so easy.
He does. And I got to ask you an obvious question, Ron. When you pitched in the lineup, there were one of the big bombers and the lineup was out. You had to be happy about that.
Oh, absolutely. When you come to the ballpark, you look at it, you look at their lineup, and you almost think like there's got to be a mistake. Because Freeman, who plays every day, you go, this can't be the lineup. This must be the lineup from yesterday. And you ask someone, they say, no, Freeman's out with his wrist, and I wouldn't say you smile, but there's a happiness inside as the hot shot to Tejada, and he has been excellent over there at third base. And now 2 outs for DeGrom.
Ruben's made 3 very, very nice plays at third base tonight. He's got good hands, nice little long hop, but a hot smash. He's been very, very, very excellent at third base.
He could field anywhere. He's just one of those guys that has the hands. Can't teach that. Boy, 3 swings.
Thank you very much.
And a pop up to Ruben Tejada. Braves go down easily here in the bottom of the 7th as the Mets still lead by a run 1-0. Who's putting the ammonia water on home plate umpire Jerry Lane. That's one of the greatest feelings, isn't it, Keith?
Well, in St. Louis, we had it all the time, buckets full of it. And what the ammonia water does, as you saw him, you pancake the face, is that you take deep breaths and you get that ammonia that makes you alert. But the ammonia also absorbs all of the sweat, closes your pores. Loved it on the back of my neck. and it was great on your forearms, on your hands.
Okay, stop there.
It was wonderful.
Pop up off the bat of Granderson, and it should be right to Chris Johnson for the first out. Let's go to Doug Williams in the studio for another game break brought to you by Ford. Ruben Tejada up. Boy, the pitch count for DeGrom is only at 86, so I mean, possibly if he has a pretty quick 8th inning, you might see a rare complete game or a chance to go for a complete game.
You listen to that national score, and Bryce Harper got hurt yesterday on that throw from right field. I haven't heard anything about whether they've DL'd him or.
They said it was a lower hamstring, like that hamstring behind the knee, because since you're the doctor here, you know that hamstring goes all the way behind your knee.
Dr. Fine, not Dr. Howard.
Ball down the middle, hammered to center field, but maybe with that speed will be there in time. Another ball hit well by Ruben Tejada. And Lucas Duda in this game so far. A good ball that he hit the 7 on to left field on the line, then pulled the ball into the shift to Kelly Johnson. And his final time up with the runner on second base, no outs, lifted this ball to Markakis. A real good situational out, and that's how the Mets scored their run.
Did you see that Philadelphia score? Are they just getting pounded every night?
Every night.
11-3 St. Louis. Just.
Well, Cole Hamels went on the disabled list because he's got a bad hamstring, and they had to bring up Philippe Aumont to take his place. And not only he's their best player by far. Washington winning tonight. Cincinnati shutting out Miami. Milwaukee got a lead over Colorado 4-0.
Colorado's in the tank.
Another pop up induced by Whistler, and no one calls the play. It's a play that both, it seemed, Simmons had to go the longest way because of the shift. So it really is A.J. Przinsky's ball, but he thought Simmons was going to make the play, and no one did.
It's a tough play for the catcher, but it was going to be, if anybody was going to get there, it was going to be Przinsky.
You know, with the shift, you can see where Simmons is playing. I mean, that's a long way to go to ask your shortstop to make that play. You know who's got the best shot of making that play if you've got any kind of athletic instinct?
Pitcher?
The pitcher. Breaking ball on the outside corner for a strike. And in his major league debut, Matt Whistler makes it through 8 innings, only giving up 1 run, but on the losing side. shutout. Andrelton Simmons leads off for the Braves. First pitch breaking ball swung through from Simmons, and Sean Gilmartin from the left side and Bobby Parnell from the right side up in the Mets bullpen. I'd like to see that. DeGrom standing up. Simmons threw a slider that he was all over, leaning over the plate. So what does he counter with? Fastball inside the bait. Move him off the plate. Breaking ball hit hard by Simmons to left center field. It stays in the ballpark, but one hops the wall, and Kadira gets it in. Leadoff double for Simmons.
Hanging breaking ball here. Stayed in and up. Short hops the wall. Nicely played. Now we'll see how the Braves are going to play this. They got the youngster coming up in Yuri Perez. Will they bunt him over? I'm sure they would. You play for the win at home. What's the rule, Ron? You play for a tie at home?
Play for a tie at home.
Because you are in the bottom half of the order.
That's right. I
play
think,
for the win on the road.
I think you're right that they will bunt here because the pitcher spot coming up next. Pedro Siriaco has come out on deck for the Braves. So the Mets should be playing for the bunt here. I'd have Lucas Duda a little further in.
No fooling. I'd have a lot of people in aggressively.
Now what you have to do here as a defensive team, you've got probably one of the best defensive pitchers in the game. You might be able to get it out at third base if you can keep Simmons close enough and Perez bunts this ball back to DeGrom. That ball will go foul. I think you're right though, Keith. It's one of those times that you almost take it out of the equation because Simmons has got good speed.
You don't want to put the wheel on here. You're just going to play it straight and force the bunter to bunt it down the third base line to have Ruben at third vacate. Ronnie, you can probably you can talk on this one.
Do I have to? It'll drive me nuts. This is a play that the Mets are just awful at. There's no reason for Ruben Tejada to exit third base. You have one of the best fielding pitchers in the game. You had an out at third, and that's where he wanted to go. But Ruben gets caught in nowhere land, and so DeGrom has to make the play at first base, and luckily he does. It's just I think maybe it's the inexperience of Ruben at third base, but it's a play that cannot be made. In fact, in the future, Terry Collins is going to have to come out and speak to his ball club and tell Ruben, you stay here and wait. Once it gets by DeGrom, then you come in and make the play. Orton here just giving a blow to DeGrom to let him know what kind of hitter Siriaco is. The play for that, you're taught, is as a pitcher, you deliver the ball, and as you are following through, you bust your behind to the third base line. Because if he bunts the ball like Perez does, you have a simple out at third base.
Well, this would be an ideal time to have Freddie Freeman pinch hit, but he's not available. The infield is in to cut off the run.
Simmons has got some speed at third base, so we've seen him many times on third base coming in against Mets catchers.
2 for 11 as a pinch hitter with 2 RBI.
Very aggressive Siriaco there as he chases that ball away. Well, nice job by Mr. Whistler in his major league debut. 8 innings, 6 hits, a run, no walks, and 2 Ks.
This is when you like to watch a pitcher work, when he needs an out.
an extraordinary out.
2 fastballs right on the black by DeGrom. Only the Philadelphia Phillies have a better average from their pinch hitters. Gotten a lot of production from the bench for the Braves.
Big overswing from Siriaco here. This is an at bat where you choke up and you're just trying to get the run in, get a fly ball.
You might see a high fastball here out of the strike zone. Let's see. Yeah, he wants it up.
Very defensive swing right there.
As Jason Grilli, the veteran, on the left-hand side of your picture, and Brandon Caniff on the right side of your picture. All depends on what happens here with the Siriaco at bat. Which pitcher pitches.
He's got to pitch the waste here in the dirt. See if someone fishes.
Oh, it hit him.
Did he swing?
You have to check the first base umpire, see if he swung.
He's calling it a foul ball.
Okay. Watch this fastball. Supposed to be away. Rides right in on Siriaco. Shakes his hand as it hits his hand, but obviously to Jerry Lane it hit his bat as well. And no argument for Siriaco either, who's in just outside of the box. He didn't mean to throw that ball inside, but that was a good pitch by DeGrom, because now he can go back outside with that slider off the plate. Good play by Phillies.
Beat it. No. Well, there's speed and inexperience. It requires one look, just too much time. And this is what we talked about, Flores' lack of quickness.
Well,
this hurts. Now, good hustle by Siriaco here.
But I think you're right, Keith. Lack of concentration, too, to know how quick the runner Siriaco is. As Terry Collins comes out after the visit by Wharton, this will be the evening for Jacob deGrom.
Oh, that's a shame.
Mets defense again not up to snuff as deGrom departs. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by Verizon. That's a shame. to be ready to quick look back, and that's it. See how he pats the glove, Keith?
Pats the glove and then does the big wind-up. You catch the ball, have the ball like a catcher by your ear. You give a quick glance over to third, and then you throw from the air. There's too much of the tapping of the glove, much like David Wright used to do when he was younger, and then the wind-up, and that was the difference.
Well, Sean Gilmartin has pitched well of late, which gives him a more highly leveraged place here. You see his numbers, very good. But this is, I think, the first time I've seen him in this kind of situation where the game's on the line.
Yep, it's a big test for him here, and that's how you find out. Peterson hitting .278 against left-handers.
He stays in there pretty good against lefties. Kid's going to be one of the leaders of this ball club at some point. What a shame for the Mets. Two just awful plays defensively could cost him this game. Gilmartin misses with the breaking ball. The thing with Peterson, you have, even if Gilmartin gets a ground ball up the middle, Peterson's got great speed.
And you see the Bravos right there. They've been pretty good. It's been their bullpen has been their nemesis, their Achilles heel.
The strike throwing Gilmartin of late struggling here in this inning. Hidden on the line to center field. It's over the head of Juan Lagares. And the speedy Siriaco is going to score also on the double by Peterson.
Well, Ronnie, 3-1 count. Hitter's in a good position to hit. Gilmartin loves his curveball, but look what he has to throw. Fastball. Too much plate and good hitting, and it gets over the head of Lagares. And the back runner, fabulous job. Never doubted, knew it from the get-go that it was over Lagares' head. And that Siriaco scores easily.
And DeGrom can hardly believe his nightmare 8th inning, as the intentional walk will be put on here to Cameron Maybin. Well, I mean, less than 2 outs, RBIs from third, getting the runner in. 87%. That number is usually in the 57%. Peterson is a gritty player who has hurt the Mets.
Well, Met defense has just let this ball club down on this road trip. Glaring yesterday in Toronto, and a critical juncture of the ball game here.
There's Jack Leathersich up in the bullpen for the Mets. You know, Keith, we talk about defense all the time, and it's not like we're talking about physical errors. They can happen. The ball between your legs, you throw the ball away. This is knowing how to execute your defense, knowing that the pitcher on the mound can make the play at third, knowing that the shortstop needs one look to get the runner out at first. Neither was done, so Terry Collins has to come out to take Gilmartin out. Watch the back runner, Keith.
Well, never a doubt. And that's just good. That's knowing where your outfielders are, and he never hesitated.
This pitching change is brought to you by Empire City. nothing DeGrom did was wrong in that inning. Just some bad defensive plays. And, it's hard to look back at it in retrospect. But at some point, you're saying, I'm taking Jacob DeGrom out of the game and putting Sean Gilmartin in the game when DeGrom really hasn't done anything wrong.
And all DeGrom has done is induced a ground ball that should have been executed, and he's 2 outs. Got 2 outs and 1 out away from coming out of the inning. So
right.
A little surprised that he took DeGrom out and brought in the left-hander.
For you folks at home, 97 pitches for DeGrom on the evening. Bobby Parnell with the first pitch, curveball to the pinch hitter Juan Uribe. Remember, Parnell, see his numbers, learn that knuckle curve or one finger curveball, as they sometimes call it, from Jason Isringhausen, when Isringhausen was in the bullpen for the Mets. That has got to be the worst birthday present Mr. DeGrom has ever gotten in his 27 years. But you continue to throw out these fine young pitchers. You do not execute on the defensive side, and these are the things that happen. Almost exclusively with the breaking ball is Bobby Parnell. Infield is shaded over. Herrera is keeping the runner Peterson close at second. Cameron Maybin's at first. Here with 1 out and a 2-1 count in the bottom of the 8th. The step off from Bobby.
Good breaking. Sorry, Ron. We're on the same page.
It's almost like Parnell has decided that Uribe is not going to get a fastball to hit. There's the fastball line to center field, but Garris is all over it. But Peterson, good running, gets back to second base. 2 outs here for the Mets in the bottom of the 8th.
Bullet by Uribe, high ball hitter. He's done a heck of a job since coming over here from the Dodgers.
Here comes Dan Worth, and the pitching coach and manager both wearing out a path to the pitching mound. Pretty interesting that he'd have to come out to talk to Bobby Parnell about Nick Markakis. Here's the next SMY game. Mets at the Brewers on Tuesday night. Our coverage begins at 7 p.m. The Dome Stadium, Milwaukee. Will it be open or not? And here's Chris Carlin with his tonight after the postgame. Tiger meltdown continues on day 2 at the U.S. Open. Keith, question: do you FaceTime with Haji when you're on the road? I've always wondered that.
Well, Chris, there's a D in Haji, so I'll just correct you there. Your spelling. As a matter of fact, on occasion, I've been known to FaceTime with Haji.
Isn't Haji the name of your cat?
Yes.
We have to go over this later. 2 outs here for Parnell and the Mets in the bottom of the 8th.
It gets lonely on the road.
You said before, Markakis is a guy, if he's leading off an inning, he'll be very patient. If there's guys on base, first fastball he'll get, he'll let it loose. Hasn't hit a home run to start the season. Over 250 at bats. Ground ball to the left side. What a play by Tejada. He goes to first and no play as the bases now are loaded. It was interesting as Tejada went back on that, Keith. He looked at second base, but Maben's way too fast, trying to alter it to first, and made neither play.
This was a difficult hop for Ruben. Takes the back hop. You're right. He had ideas at second and had no play there. And the Braves are just kind of looking at their speed is making our infield look like it's in slow motion.
Here comes Terry Collins again. After Worthen, he's going to make another call to the bullpen. Righty on righty. Very interesting, but Familia's in the game. Mets losing 2-1 to the Braves in the 8th. Who's been their best pitcher out of the bullpen. I guess if I think about it, you're thinking if Terry Collins, somehow you got to get this out against Chris Johnson to give your team, which doesn't have the most potent offense, a chance to tie it in the top of the ninth.
Exactly.
Good pitch for a strike there from Familia. In baseball parlance, you'll say in the dugout, let's hit for a half hour. Well, the Braves have hit for 26 minutes.
Well, let's bat around.
This is one of the reasons, Keith, for the move to bring in Familia. Two reasons. One, you got to get out of this inning with a score 2-1. And two, even though Jason Grilli has been pretty good, this Braves bullpen has been giving it up all season long.
The only thing that you can question in this inning was taking DeGrom out. And you know, Terry, I think he's a terrific field manager, but it's very rare that I kind of scratch my head on that one, because DeGrom was was solid. I mean, he induced the ground ball with the runner on third base. It was muffed by Flores, DeGrom would have been 1 out away from getting out of that inning.
If I were DeGrom sitting on that bench right now, I would say, why don't you take the fielders out? Don't take me.
It'd be one of those set 'em up Joe games.
Good sinking fastball, but down by Familia. Interesting, you're watching Familia stretch out his quad like there's something wrong with his leg. Don't want to see that. Atlanta, unlike the Mets, 3 for 5 with runners in scoring position.
Big clutch double in this game by Jace Peterson.
Good slider and a strikeout at Chris Johnson. But it was some shoddy defense by the Mets and great pitching by DeGrom. But it was the defense that betrayed him at the end. Flores looks back Simmons, but takes too long to get Siriaco at first base. DeGrom frustrated, then a big, huge double from Chase Peterson that puts the Braves ahead. First, Kelly Johnson out. Juan Uribe goes in at third base for defense. And their closer, the veteran Jason Grilli, out on the mound, 18 for 20 in save opportunities.
And the young man was looking at a L, looking at a double, the youngster.
In his major league debut. Good breaking ball from Grilli. This is twice now the Braves have come back in a week against the Mets. Fouled straight back by Kadire. 15 times this season the Mets have scored 1 run or fewer. They've got 1 run on the board tonight.
Well, the difference in this game and the story is going to be the defense. And the defense on the infield continues to let the team down.
I mean, there was one of those games that you had to almost win 1-0. After the last pitch of the inning, when Familia threw that slider and got Chris Johnson, you can see that he limps off.
A little bit, yes.
And he grimaces and limps off. The pitch prior, remember I mentioned that he was stretching his quad or maybe his hamstring. And once he got to the hamstring, of course, and once he got to the dugout, everyone, of course, concerned for their first half MVP.
Good strike.
Yeah, Grilly had that magical year 2 seasons ago for Pittsburgh. He and Melanson were awfully tough at the end of that Pittsburgh Pirates bullpen to go along with Tony Watson and Justin Wilson. Lagares on deck. Last year was a year change for Jason Grilly. He struggled, moved from team to team, but seemed to have found a home here in Atlanta. Well, immediately after the game in our post game, they'll have all the answers. Gary Apple and Nelson Figueroa. We'll try to analyze that 8th inning for you. Flores fouls out to the right side. Johnson runs out of room. It was interesting, Keith, when I got to the American League after being traded, those bunt plays that DeGrom got and Tejada came in, if he had stayed at third, you would have had a play. In the American League, they don't even play it. They want you to just get an out because it's a DH league. There's more runs scored.
Right.
But here in the National League, getting an out at third base on a bunt play is so important, especially in a tight game like the Mets are in.
Good cut. Flores has been having some nice 2-strike at bats. Hanging in there.
When you watch or you listen, folks at home, Jason Grilly, the veteran, sounds like a tennis match breaks out. He is a grunter, a guy who grunts when he lets go of that baseball.
Monica Seles was a big grunter.
Trying to put all his effort into his pitching. And the Braves make a mistake. Ground ball to Uribe, who came in for defense, and he botches the play at third.
Routine.
Simple.
No 2 hands.
No 2 hands, just one.
And see if the Mets can take advantage of this.
Well, the Mets have giveth in the 8th inning. Maybe they can take it away here in the 9th. Bad play by Uribe. Lagares with 2 home runs on the season. 3 home runs, sorry. Mets would love to see his 4th.
Outfield deep, particularly deep in left field. Yuri Perez out there in the cow pastures.
He's got good speed, so maybe he can make up for it. But you're right. To the pull size, he's extremely deep. No doubles they're playing.
Grilly's got a nice hard slider. Big gap in left center field. Off the plate, Juan chases. You've got the center fielder and Maben shaded a little bit to the off field. but it leaves a huge left center field gap.
Another good pitch by Grilli as he darts the outside corner to get ahead 1-2. Fastball upstairs. Nice take by Juan Lagares.
They're probably going to set up a little slide ball away here.
We've seen Lagares with 2 strikes, though, be very good when the slider is in the strike zone. Got to count on Grilli missing with that pitch. Flores with a conservative lead at first.
Good eye.
Good eye right off the plate. Good call by Jerry Lane.
Good try by Grilli. Remember, the book on Juan is that he'll chase. So that was a pitch that was there purposefully out of the strike zone to try to get a strikeout.
So you go with the 3-2 slider, Keith, or the fastball?
I don't know. This is your this is your territory, not mine.
A fastball away. Slider again. And this time popped up to center field. Cameron Maven's there for the second out. And Flores still at first base. There'll be a pinch hitter for the Mets now. Daryl Siciliani is coming to the plate. He'll bat for Dilson Herrera.
Got a chance to chat with him in Toronto after he had that start the other night where he struck out 3 times, went 0 for 3. That was the first game of the series. Nice young man. I think he's got a chance to be a very, very good major league player. I like his swing.
He's part of that bench for the Mets that has gotten hot of late. And they need him to get hot right now.
And he's got some pop, and he stays and he hits the ball the other way.
We saw him hit a long home run into the Pepsi porch for his first home run. Here's the defense, Keith.
Very deep, and again a little bit of a shade in center field to the opposite field.
Big swing by Siciliani. No contact.
Threw it by him there.
From up here, it sounds like Grilli is grunting on the fastball, not on the breaking pitches, but certainly can't pick that up as a hitter. Flores has got to try to get a good secondary lead at first. He does not have a lot of speed. He's got to score on a double. Pretty good size lead for Wilmer. Breaking ball up.
If a pitcher's grunting and just say we feel he's just grunting on the fastball, I don't know if that's enough time for a hitter to be able to recognize that. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of crowd noise right now, but it kind of builds up with the pitch.
Another big swing there by Siciliani. No contact. As the Braves are 1 strike away. AJ calls for the slider. And he gets the strikeout. And And the game's over as the Braves come back in the 8th inning to score 2 runs to ruin a great effort by Jacob deGrom. Matt Wisler for the Atlanta Braves in his Major League debut gets the win.
Man, the Mets continue to have difficulty here. It's a house of horrors here at Turner Field. But tonight, the Mets gift wrap this win to the Braves. deGrom, a tough, undeserving loser tonight. The misplay, it's not an error on the Mets in the scorebook tomorrow when you read about it in the paper, but a mental error by Flores and a critical out in that 2-run 8th.
Well, here's a Jeep summary for this evening. Braves win 2-1. Losing pitcher is Jacob deGrom. The winning pitcher, Matt Wisler, in his first game, his Major League debut. Tonight's game summary presented by Jeep. You know, extraordinary moments happen every night in baseball, but on one night they all happen in one place. Don't miss the 86th All-Star Game. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, Tuesday, July 14th on Fox.